I've got a quick question for you, alright? I wanna hear your thoughts, I wanna know what's on your mind. I've got a quick question for you, alright? The answer's not important, I'm just glad that we could talk tonight. So what's your favourite? How did you get? When will I be remembered? Was it after? Where did all the Why do we know? Oh, forget it. Soren, Bowie, Daniel O'Brien, two best friends and comedy writers. If there's an answer, they're gonna find it. I think you'll have a great time here. I think you'll have a great time here.
So hello again and welcome. The podcast is Quick Question with Soren and Daniel. I'm Daniel O'Brien, joined as always by Soren Bowie, my co-host, my best friend.
What's up?
That's how he sounds and that's what he says all the time. Soren, I know you've got lots to say.
Yeah.
I got a crazy thing that happened. Let's say, do I think it happened to me? I was there. So in my telling of the story, I'm by far the most important character to me. Thank you to ASPCA Pet Insurance for supporting Quick Question. To explore coverage, visit aspcapetinsurance.com/question. This is a paid advertisement. Insurance is underwritten by either Independence American Insurance Company of the United States Fire Insurance Company and produced by PTZ Insurance Agency Limited. The ASPCA is not an insurer and is not engaged in the business of insurance.
Hold on. So when I get you, Dan, like when we do this podcast and I see you, you jump on, and it's clear that you've been for what I want to say is a 59-mile run every single time, and like there's like a frenetic energy to it, and there's like some shit just went down kind of feel. Did this just happen on your run?
This happened a few days ago.
Okay.
But you're right in that, like, I am always a few minutes late to this podcast because I've always just come from something, usually running. And, like, the crash that occurs when I finish recording, it's really, it's a big one. Because, like, my adrenaline is going for so long. And, like, we're going to, just a peek behind the curtain for our listeners, we're going to do something we've never done before. We're going to record an episode of the podcast and then break for 20 minutes and record another one.
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm going to be like on the other side of that break. It'll just be like post-Thanksgiving dinner.
I'll plan to do some heavy lifting on the next one then.
Please do.
All right. Well, I do want to hear your story, though. I want to know what happened to maybe you.
Yeah. So last Friday, my wife, my brother David, my sister-in-law Marnie, we went to the Prudential Center in New Jersey to see a comedy show with Pete Davidson, John Mulaney, and Jon Stewart. We were very excited about this show. We did a little bit of pre-gaming. We get to the show. We go through the whole annoying process of putting our phones in our bags, and we get in our seats, and we're watching Pete Davidson's set. Prudential Center is, they have like everything there. They have like the Devils play there. It's a big like hockey. It's a stadium, you know. It's an arena, rather.
Oh, okay.
We're pretty far in the back. We're happy with our seats. We can see the screens. We can see the comedians.
Pete Davidson's doing okay down there on the ice.
He's doing okay down there on the ice. He's okay. Jon Stewart cannot skate. It's not his strong suit. But Pete's doing his set, and my brother notices, my sister-in-law notices, and my wife notices. Basically, everyone except me notices that something is happening to the person directly in front of my brother in the seat, where his head rolls back and he goes limp. He is like sliding out of his chair. And David, my brother, who's an occupational therapist, he's got more medical training than certainly any of us. He is tapping the guy on the shoulder and checking in on him. And then he gets out of his seat and is now like pushing on the guy's chest and like looking at his eyes and snapping and trying to find a heartbeat that he doesn't immediately find. And he is just like, cradling this guy's head in his hand, and like we're up now and we're waving to like people who are closer to the exit than we are. We're like, go and get someone on staff to come down here, because remember, all of us have our phones in pouches and we can't take them out to call for any help. And David is just like cradling this guy's head. The guy comes to, and David's like, you are not doing well. And the guy's like, I am not doing well. I don't feel right. And my brother's like, whatever happened? What did you take tonight? And the guy was like, I took some Dramamine for the train ride over here, and that's it. And David was like, has this ever happened to you before?
I want
The guy was like,
Dramamine.
no, this hasn't, or this happened once, August of 2023, and we couldn't figure out what it was, but something like this happened.
So this guy's pretty lucid. He woke up pretty lucid. Okay.
But he is still like, I think I'm okay right now. I think I'm just tired. I don't feel right. Like those are the things that he sort of keeps repeating.
Yeah.
And someone from the staff comes out, and I do feel for this staff person who we can very clearly see what she's doing is calling 911 on her phone and then like looking around. Like she's not, we're sitting there and like, this is sweetie, this is a walkie-talkie situation. This is like, get on the internal communication system for this building and get like EMTs here now. The 911 is not, because then what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
So she's on
you
on
give them
her
the
phone.
seat number. You call 911, you give them the seat number. Start
And
there.
then she eventually is like, I'll be right back, I promise. We never see her again, which is fine. Like, there was very little that she could do, and I knew that she didn't want to be there anymore, but she went out and she got like a more official person who came down with like a checklist and talked to the guy, and eventually he was like well enough to stand, and he walked out, and my brother walked out with him and waited for like the EMTs to get there, and saw the EMTs were asking all of the right questions, and my brother got back into his seat, and he was a little bit shook up. I mean, the show was obviously continuing because no one who was doing comedy could hear or see
that's what I was
going
going to
on
ask.
back here.
Is like, what was Pete doing during all
We
this?
were so far away that we were not impacting the show for anyone except like in our section. And
Doesn't feel great. Doesn't feel great that you're so far away from the action that somebody
like,
could have
right.
died and no one would have known.
Two insane things. One of them was this guy who my brother heroically, in my mind, brought back to life and like cradled the head of and fetched help for. This guy was not alone. He was with 3 people, and I did not know that he was with people until they all left together.
Holy shit! Because they weren't helping him. It was your dad.
They
your
were
brother
not doing
it.
anything. David was holding him and like checking all the things. There was a woman next to him who was not really answering questions, and like the other people really seemed like they were just like, we're just watching the show. We're just trying to enjoy the show. We paid a lot of money for these seats, not as much as people in like better seats, but we paid money for them.
They were a mile closer.
Like you would not be out of line if you thought the people he was with were embarrassed, like, oh, he does this all the fucking time and we're so sick of it. That is the attitude that like they were not with him, quote unquote, until it was time to go, and then they were like, okay, I guess it's time to go now. Like I was shocked to see 3 other people stand up and go with him.
Holy mackerel! So they didn't do shit.
They
First
didn't
of all,
do shit.
Nobody better to pass out in front of than David.
No, absolutely not.
That's what a boon that was for that guy, that his seat happened to be right there. Because your brother, I mean, obviously it's borderline his job. Yeah. Borderline, I'm going to say. But like the fact that he knows I have to protect the head, I have to get help, I have to get somebody to go get the help, and just him directing traffic and dealing with that is, boy, that's exactly the guy you want.
Right. And like David is seeing this guy out of the corner of his eye, his head roll back, and immediately my brother springs into action and is like, something is wrong here. If I was sitting somewhere and the person in front of me rolled their head back and it landed in my lap, I'd be like, just my fucking luck. I got the guy who fell asleep during Pete Davidson's story about early internet pornography. Rats! This is not my day.
Knee that head forward.
I'm going to gently tap him. And like when you talk about this guy being lucky that he passed out in front of David, it's we got to our seats and there were 2 people in 2 of our 4 seats, and we said those are our seats. We have tickets for those seats. And this couple, minor characters in this story, but people that I also really felt for when we were getting our seats, they said, someone's in our seats too. So we just sat in these. So maybe
domino effect. You don't understand what you're doing.
And I was like, look, I totally understand, because like I've been the person who's been too timid to tell someone they're in my seat, and I found somewhere else to go, and then I've been bounced out, and it sucks, and you wish everyone was like as much of a coward as you, but that's not our vibe tonight. You are in our seats, you have to leave. And maybe that means you tell the people who took your seats. Maybe that means you find other seats. Frankly, it's not our business anymore. You just have to get out of our chairs.
Yeah.
And
do you want my mom to go talk to them? Would that be helpful?
Lucky for us, and the person in front of us, we took our seats, and David saved that guy's life. And then, so David is there, and Marnie is like, my sister-in-law is like rubbing his shoulder, and my wife turns to me and she's like, that's such a bummer. That's a real buzzkill for David, because like we were all feeling good for this comedy show. It's Friday night out. They got a sitter. We're all feeling good. And I was like, man, what a buzzkill. I hope he can like rally and enjoy the rest of this show. And we're seeing him like he's taking sips of beer. And we're like, okay, he's good. He's gonna be fine. Pete Davidson finishes his set. John Mulaney comes out, and in very perfect John Mulaney fashion, he opens his set with something almost exactly, but not exactly like, thank you for coming out to the Prudential Center. Isn't this a great place? Isn't this a great stadium where certainly people have died in the past? Can't you just imagine someone in these seats having a seizure or a heart attack and dying? And David is just fucking gone. I've talked about my dog Jackson before. It goes without saying. There's nothing I wouldn't do for my stinky, wonderful, high energy, very dumb dog, Jackson. He is my hero. He is very, very important to me. I love him all the time, and we have an agreement that he will never die. But even if you're the best pet parent in the world, unpredictable things can happen. Fortunately, you can always give your care a boost with ASPCA Pet Health Insurance. The ASPCA Pet Health Insurance Program offers customizable accident and illness plans, making it easier for pet parents like you to help your pet get the care they may need. The ASPCA Pet Health Insurance Program has been around for over 18 years, and they've helped more than 600,000 pets during that time. They allow you to customize your plan, helping ensure that your pet's plan is as unique as they are. Because vet bills can really add up, you're telling me, especially when you're least expecting it. It's simple. Use their app to submit a claim, and you'll receive reimbursement for eligible vet bills directly into your bank account. To explore coverage, visit aspcapetinsurance.com/question. That's aspcapetinsurance.com/question. Again, that's aspcapetinsurance.com/question. This is a paid advertisement. Insurance is underwritten by either Independence American Insurance Company or United States Fire Insurance Company and produced by PTZ Insurance Agency Limited. The ASPCA is not an insurer and is not engaged in the business of insurance. He eventually rallied, but like I'm sure I can hear his inner monologue, just like, slow your heart rate down. It's fine. It's over. You thought this guy was going to die in your arms, and he didn't. That's good. Deep breaths. Enjoy the show. Here's Mulaney. Here's the guy we really came here to see. Yeah. And then, as if he is directly addressing him, couldn't you imagine someone having a seizure and dying in these seats? And I asked Marnie, I was like, is he okay? And she goes, no. I was like, all right, great.
So did you guys stick around for the whole show?
We did stick around. Like David, bounced back and rallied. And then we stayed for the entire show and left. And as we're walking out, David was like, This is the most memorable show. I'm never going to forget this for the rest of my life.
Right,
What a crazy night this was.
Here's the other thing about having David be that person is that I can pretty much guarantee that nobody in that circumstance said thank you. Did they? Other than your family?
No.
Not a single person.
No.
I don't think that he'd even register that. I think he'd be like, I did what I had to do. Why would anyone say thank you?
Right.
And that would drive me crazy that no one said thank you to my brother. Like, I'd be like, you motherfuckers. Like,
right. This trio who more than anything seemed like, I guess we have to leave now because our friend or our coworker or our friend's husband or boyfriend, whatever the situation was, I guess we have to leave because he had to be selfish and have some kind of insane neurological episode, and we all have to leave now. Like, they just seemed more than anything put out by the whole affair.
The other thing is that your retelling of that story is going to be far better and more detailed than his retelling ever will be, if he ever retells it. David is also, I feel like, not the type of person who's going to be like, you're never going to believe the thing that happened to me last night on the WhatsApp thread with his friends.
No, he's not going to be like, here's this crazy story where I'm a hero and I turned out great. And I look awesome.
He's going to be like, if somebody's like, David, what? I heard something weird happen. He'd be like, oh yeah, there was a guy in front of me that was having some sort of like medical issue, and it almost ruined the show. And that will be the story. Like, it won't be about him. He won't be the character. And I'm like, of course, that's the person I want saving me too. I want the person who doesn't know that think it's a big deal and will fucking just forget about the fact that I was vulnerable.
We were calling for doctor or nurse, and we were just like sending word while David was tending this guy. And a nurse worked her way through the crowd and was and I love nurses. And she's like, I'm a nurse. Yeah. And I was like, right this way. And she goes and she stands over the guy's shoulder and watches David for a while, contributes nothing, and leaves and goes back to her seat. And just like, this guy's got this. And then off she goes.
I loved the fact that traveled down the line. Like, I'd love for somebody that's a big game of telephone at the stadium where all of a sudden somebody shows up and it's like, I'm a proctor, I have a purse. Is this what
right?
No, not what we're looking for. I've been in that situation, though. I've been in a situation where I thought I could be helpful, and then I'm standing there and I'm not doing anything. And I'm like, I think I might be in the way. And
I was doing that
leave.
for, like, I stood up in my seat when we were signaling to, like, someone run and go get someone on staff. Yeah. And I was still up because, like, standing is when I'm at my most powerful and useful. Yeah. And I realized at a certain point, like, I'm not even holding his beer. I'm just blocking the view of the people behind me.
Yeah.
And making them miss Pete Davidson's stand-up. So I very anticlimactically sat down and then, like, poised in seat at the ready. It's like, if someone you've all seen me stand before, so you understand that if we need someone to do it again, I'm your guy.
It's this. I mean, you can achieve sort of the same look by sitting down, but elbows out on the chairs, like hands like on the seat rest, but like elbows out like wings almost, where you're just like, at any minute I could pop up and do something, and you all see that. You all see the urgency in my posture. And
some of you can probably sense that I will get carried away and, like, launch myself forward over the balcony of our section.
Is this helpful? Yeah, I understand that. I was in an airport and I saw a woman fall and then start bleeding from her head. And, like, she had people with her and they were around her kind of, like, helping her. And, like, because I saw it, I couldn't just be like, well, I'm going to Smashburger. Like, I couldn't just turn around and go get my food or anything. I was like, well, I witnessed this. It would be silly of me to leave. And so I, like, went over to her and, like, I'm trying to see where I fit into this scenario. I'm like, where am I helpful? How am I useful in this? And, like, trying to find my slot. Because that's what you do in an emergency is you're like, okay, what is the least detrimental thing I can do here? And there wasn't something. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to go, but I guess I shouldn't just walk away. So I was like, is she all right? And they're like, no. It's like, that wasn't the answer I was looking for. I wanted you to be like, yeah, we got this covered. But maybe I should have asked a different question. I don't know what I was looking for. I'll stick around.
Yeah. You have to at least try to do something because you must know that you're going to tell this story later. You're at the airport, you're going to land somewhere. They're going to be like, how was the flight? And you'll say, this woman fucking ate it and was bleeding. It's like, oh, is she all right? Your answer can't be, I don't know. I went to cinema.
Yeah.
Like
something bad happens to her, and that shows up on the news or whatever. There's CCTV footage, probably of the situation, the woman falling, and then even though my face is blurred out in that, you see somebody stop, look, and just turn around and go the other direction. And I'm like, I can't be that. I cannot be that guy.
Turn around and go the other direction. You don't even go to your plane.
I know. Just like, I'm gonna go wait this out over there. But yeah, it was that's the worst place to have something like that happen, because everybody's on a time crunch in an airport.
Yeah.
And you see that situation. There are going to be people who are like, I just can't deal with this right now. And they're right not to. Everybody else had it covered. There was like a group around her already.
Yeah. But you're right about people not wanting to deal with it. So like you get so many stories from movies and TV shows and secondhand information where someone screams, is there a doctor on this flight? Like that's a very like recurring pop cultural theme. Someone passes out on a plane, they say, is there a doctor? And then someone in the movie or film is like, I'm a doctor, and they stand up like they've been waiting for this, and they go over there and they help the person as much as they can. Growing up with a mother who is a nurse who has like taken oaths and done everything and knows that she has certain powers, and with those powers certain responsibility. If there's anyone anywhere who hurts themselves and needs a medical professional, she knows that she needs to get up and do that, and she will do it every single time.
Yeah.
When she is on a plane, in addition to like praying that the plane lands safely, she is always thinking like, oh, I hope nobody needs a nurse on this fucking flight. I hope nobody needs anything on this train. Or like times when someone's been on a train or a plane and they've said, is there a doctor or nurse? She will look around like,
please, somebody else.
Is there someone first? Someone first? No. Oh, God damn it. Yeah. Nurse here. Was really hoping.
Didn't realize I was on call.
If I did my hand slow enough, someone would beat me to it. Like,
yeah.
And that's, I think, true of all medical professionals, that like they understand the responsibility and they take it seriously, but they never want to do it.
Of course not.
I don't want to help someone with their toast either. None of us want to work off the clock.
Well, it's not just that. You have, and maybe they're accustomed to this, but a stranger's body. You have to do you have to do a lot of touching of a stranger's body when they're having an episode of some sort. And that alone is horrifying.
Yeah.
You have to rub their chest. You have to touch their face. You might have to put your lips on their lips. And there's so many things that are going to be, and now it's your obligation now. You have to do it because you're the only one who can.
And the person might die, and it's not your fault.
It'll feel like your fault, but it's not your fault.
It'll feel like your fault, and it's also like you didn't wake up that day choosing to put yourself in a situation where someone might die in your arms.
Right.
Which is what I do every day. I've engineered my entire life to avoid something like that happening.
What's so funny, my mom was also an EMT nurse, and it never even occurred to me that she would be feeling that way. She has stepped in to help people occasionally, but she, on flights, it was always so funny. My mom would be like, her biggest concern on flights was that she would be eaten by sharks.
Of course.
And my dad would be like, bets. We're barely flying over the ocean at all. And even if we are, there has never been a successful plane crash in the ocean ever. And I was like, oh, okay, great. Thanks. That's also very helpful for me, your child.
What do you mean successful?
Like that people survived. Like the people
okay.
They actually used.
You won't live long enough to get eaten by the shark?
That's okay. That was his point. That was like how he was going to try and make her feel better, was your death will be different.
Yeah.
Stop overreacting. Your death's going to be bad, but probably in a different way.
Do you see Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid?
Yeah.
That's, for our listeners, BC and the SDK are fleeing from people who want them, authorities or bandits. The details are fuzzy. They're running away. They come to a waterfall, and Paul Newman is like, we'll jump into the fall and we'll get down to the bottom and we'll swim away and we'll make our escape. There's no way they're going to follow us. Robert Redford's like, I'm not going to do it. Paul Newman's like, you got to do it. It's the only way. We're not going to win this fight. You have to do it. And finally Robert Redford says like, all right, fine, I'll do it. And they get to the edge. They're about to jump, and Robert Redford is like, Paul Newman, or whichever one you are, I can't swim. And Paul Newman goes, you can't swim? You idiot. It's the fall that kills you. And then they jump into the falls.
Oh, yeah.
That's really good stuff.
Yeah, it's great. Now, I feel like in these circumstances where somebody almost dies, even like the person who's involved in it, if they end up being okay, there's like a real decision to be made on whether you just continue with whatever you were doing, like your night out, or you leave. And it sounds like this guy was like, no, probably it would be a good idea for me to leave. Right. When I was in Vegas, one other guy from my work went to Vegas. We were out at a really nice dinner, and one other guy at the table and I are looking across the room, and we see this other guy choking. And then, but we don't know that he's choking. He's just like tapping the table. And then his friend gets up and puts his hands on his shoulder and looks at him, like they're kind of like smiling. And then he gets behind him and starts like giving him the Heimlich. And we're like, is this a joke? we turn to each other, like, is this a joke? Gives him the Heimlich for a while and then stops and goes and like looks at him. And the guy's like got a napkin now and stuff like that. The one who's choking has a napkin. He's doing some other things, and it looks like maybe he's okay, or maybe it was a joke the whole time. And then the guy gets right behind him and starts giving him the Heimlich again. And this time the guy throws up a little. And we're watching this, and then it looks like he's maybe okay. He seems like he's better now. They get that cleaned up. And then they go right back to sitting at the bar just talking. And and my friend and I are like, what the fuck was that? We just watched somebody almost die. His friend saved his life. And now they're just like, anyway, what was I saying? The Celtics?
Yeah.
Like they go right back into it and decide the night's not over. The night's fine.
I mean, years ago, I was on my way to meet my friends Britannic at a bar, and my friend Ben Joseph, and our friends Caitlin and Brian, and I got hit by a car on my way to the bar, and
I remember this,
did some real damage to my hand, but didn't. I don't think the spoiler. We don't know what I broke because I never went to a doctor, but got hit by a car and like flew in the air after getting hit by a car. And a bunch of strangers, good Samaritans, picked me up and helped me, and they like talked to me, and they're like, "Do you need us to get you to a hospital?" I was like, "No, I just can you help me find my phone? I dropped my phone, and somehow my phone fell out of my pocket. Can you help me find that?" And they waited till Ben Joseph came, and they were like, "You need to get your friend to a hospital. He's in shock. He doesn't know what happened, but I saw it. He went flying. He got hit by a car. You are in charge. Get him to the hospital." And they left. And Ben was like, "Do you think you're fine?" I'm like, "I think I'm fine." So I went to the bar and met up with our friends and continued the rest of our night.
Yeah, I think that's my instinct too.
I kind of understand it.
Yeah. I know that's my instinct. I know that's my instinct because at my bachelor party, I split my face open. You guys were like, "Do you want to go home?" And I was like, "What? We still have another night. What are you talking about?"
"Look, I got this hat. You can't even see the scars." We were like, "No, you can totally see them." But let's go.
Yeah. Or when I just fell that one time running on my way to the gym and started bleeding profusely, and I was like, maybe I'll find a place I can stop and clean this up before I work out.
Yeah.
And had to go to a bank. Went to a bank to clean up so that the gym wouldn't see me like this. Yeah, I know that instinct. I know that you're like, I'm probably fine. It's going to be okay.
Yeah. It takes a lot of pain. Like when I broke my wrist and was like, well, let me just go to church and then brunch, because that was the plan. And then if it's still hurting after that, then I'll go to a hospital. And if it wasn't like blinding pain for the next 3 minutes, I would have just continued with that plan with my wrist fucking dangling from a thread at brunch.
Have you ever watched your mom help somebody? Help a stranger?
Not in an emergency situation, no, not that I can recall. I know that like there were days where I would go to the school where she was a school nurse, and I would watch her like treat sick kids that came in and do that kind of thing. But like, we've never been somewhere where someone like needed help and she had to rush and do it. She would just like, the same way that you're saying that David probably won't tell this story everywhere he goes for the rest of his life. The stories of my mom rescuing a stranger in some emergency situation,
make their way to you.
I would only get like bits and pieces of.
Yep.
And in a way of like, the reason I was late coming home today is because someone had a heart attack in the parking lot outside of the school, and I had to help them. That kind of thing.
That's
where I'd just be like, okay, you're still driving me to the movies or what? You too busy to do that?
That's how I know I'll never be like a real hero. is that those people, you're right. Like, they don't think anything of it.
Yeah.
I think everything of it. And if I'm in that moment, I'm like, oh, fuck yeah. Like, I can't wait to tell everybody about the shit that I'm doing right now. I am saving the fucking day.
I
And
mean,
that's
remember,
not how they
I
respond.
started this story as the craziest thing that happened to me.
My
When
dad,
the guy who almost died tells this story, I'm not in it.
Oh, you were poised. You're poised in your seat, ready for action. And sometimes that's the most heroic thing you can do.
Thank you.
My dad was on mountain rescue. If you don't know what that is, people at home, anywhere you live in a mountain town, there's going to be a lot of people climbing, skiing, doing stuff in the outdoors, and occasionally they bite off more than they can chew, or they run into trouble and they get stuck out there. And if they're lost, like, mountain rescue goes and finds them. Now, what this usually means is that mountain rescue goes and brings back bodies. Like,
Sure.
they are not, most of their job is not like actually rescuing people because somebody had a fall or something like that. They don't usually survive that stuff, but occasionally they do. And my dad would go out there and save them. Like, that was his job when I was a real job. It was his volunteer. But when I was a little kid, he's an expert climber, expert skier. So he would go off on with these other guys that he knew, and they would go rescue people. And so when I got old enough, I was like, why didn't you ever write about that stuff? Because he was writing for Aspen magazine too. And I was like, why didn't you ever write about this stuff? And he's like, oh, I don't know. And I was like, do you have like, what are the stories? And he's like, gives me like, again, like little snippets of like stuff that happened. And then at his funeral, like, his buddy, who is a blowhard and was also one of those guys, tells an actual story, like, knows how to tell a story and tells a story about my dad. And I'm like, fuck, I wish I would have known that. That's a fucking rad story. He's a real hero. That's amazing. This guy fell down into what was essentially a crevasse. We don't really call him that there because it's not glaciers, but he falls into what is a crevasse, basically, gets stuck down there, has a broken leg. When ski patrol finally like gets down to him, they're on like what is just like this perfect chute for a avalanche. He gets down to him. It's getting dark, and so like they're gonna have to bivouac on the side of this mountain in a very sketchy area. And my dad climbs down into the crevasse and holds this guy overnight to keep him warm enough so that he doesn't freeze. While everyone else bivouacs up top. They finally get him out the next morning, and he tells this story, and he's like, and when this guy Dick, he was like, when my dad came out, Scott said, I'm cold. That's all he said. And then
That rules.
they went home. And I was like, that's fucking so... These guys are basically just Top Gun on the mountain. That's
Yeah.
amazing. And he never wanted to talk about this stuff. Never would tell me the stories of it. He'd tell me, like, no, mostly what we're doing is not saving people. We're just collecting bodies. And downplaying every single thing that he would do up there. And then I'd read like these snippets of newspaper articles from the Aspen Journal and stuff where they talk about about mountain rescue, and they're like, they're such fucking hotshot, cool ass dudes. And I was like, why weren't you to tell everyone this? I mean, live on free drinks the rest of your life. Tell every single person what you did up there. But yeah, he wasn't into writing it down. He wasn't into any of that. And also, I'll say, this was a surprise to me. When I asked him, do people, after you rescue them, are they like attached to you for the rest of your life? Like, do they call you constantly?
They
Like,
send Christmas cards.
yeah, they must have some sort of emotional connection to you after that. And he's like, no, they want nothing to do with you.
Man.
They are they don't want anything to do with you when they're being rescued. They're in a pissy mood for a lot of reasons, but mostly it's ego. It's like you don't want to be rescued.
Yeah.
It's like that's because that means you failed or you weren't good enough.
Right.
And so somebody had to come up there and get you. And sometimes you don't feel like you needed to be gotten. And so you get rescued. And then also it's just humiliating. And like, you don't want to think about that anymore. You don't want to think about that moment where you were at your weakest and most vulnerable. And so you're just like, I'm going to shut off everybody from my life who is in that exact moment. And it's very easy to do it with a stranger. The only person who didn't do that was there was a plane crash up on, I think on Pyramid Peak. And they got up there. It was a dad, his friend, and the guy's daughter. And everybody was dead except the daughter. And they got up there and they found her and they got her back down. And from that day forward, she was like probably like 10 or something like that. And from that day forward, like she was just connected to them. And she ended up building a new hut for them in Aspen and donating a bunch of money. And like throughout the rest of her life, she was like an advocate of mountain rescue. Because she was too young to have ego. Right. It was somebody who needed help, got help, and was like, you saved my life.
This should be rewarded. Yeah.
He says everybody else is pissed off. Everybody else hates you.
Yeah. Speaking of death, Soren, that takes me to the quick question that I wanted to talk about today. Do we have time to get to the actual quick question?
Of course.
Great. So we're watching this. There's a 3-part documentary series on HBO Max. The one to watch, called The Mortician, and it's about the Lamb family, this guy in the 80s in Pasadena and other parts of Southern California who ran a funeral home and for years was making a lot of money. The main crime that he was doing was you would go to have your loved one cremated. And when he took over, he was just cremating so many people and making so much money because he was just like doubling and tripling the amount of cremations that could happen in a day. And everyone was like, man, how's this guy doing it? It's simple. It's because he would cremate like fucking 6 to 10 bodies at a time and just mix the ashes, and he didn't care. He would just like, there's all these people who are crying and very upset, and they're like, I have this urn and I thought it was my sister, but I don't know. Now I don't know if it was her or if it was a mix of her and someone else, or if it was just fucking ash from this thing. And I'm so devastated. He did that. He also did other crimes. He would like pull gold teeth out of the bodies that came in there and sell the gold. And he also did, at the very least, 3 murders. So you can't. So don't fall in love with this guy because he's
was
like
harvesting
truly,
bodies in a functional way.
Yeah, he would be like a criminal no matter what career he fell ass backward into. And he, in the first episode, because like the guy is the person who did it, like did jail time and is alive and out, and you get cuts of all of these sobbing people who lost family members and were sold a false bill of goods by this guy, and then it gets cut back to him and he's just like, I'm sorry, when you're dead, and if you're mad that this pile of carbon isn't your dad, I got news for you. It never would have been your dad. It would never have been the person. You should enjoy the person while they're alive and not worry about what's going on in the urn. Where it's like, if you didn't do all those murders, I think I would agree with your broader philosophy. But it got us thinking while we were watching, and my wife was like, if I died and I was cremated and someone gave you the wrong ashes, would you be mad? And I had to be very careful about this because I was just like, well, what do you think happens to your body when it's dead? Because if she is upset, if she thinks those ashes are my body and I want you to have them, if she's upset about that, then I'm upset on her behalf and I'll raise hell. I'll do everything to stop that guy and to find justice. If it's my ashes and someone gives you an urn. It was like, here's because I've bequeathed my ashes to you, Soren. Someone gives you an urn that was like, this is Daniel, and it's actually like a mixture of me and my neighbor and a couple of cats and whomever else was involved in my death. I don't care. I mean, like, I care so little that I don't want there to be an urn of me. Scatter my ashes at sea. That's my plan.
But
and
even
it got
then,
me.
throw them in the trash. Honestly,
Even then, what,
throw them
right?
in a
Truly, if it's like
throw them in a dumpster.
if you have a whole plan where it's like we're gonna throw his ashes at sea on his birthday, and then it's raining on my birthday, fuck it. I don't, just dump them. Who cares? It does, like, don't make a special trip.
Yeah.
But it made me curious how you would feel about that. What do you think about your ashes?
Yeah.
Would you be super pissed if they were the wrong ashes? I would only, again, it upsets me if it would upset my wife that I don't have her ashes, and a sense of justice, like financial justice, overtakes me, where it's like, if someone paid you for their sister's ashes,
Totally.
give the sister's ashes.
That
Otherwise,
is not the position you're supposed to be taking, though. Is like you've taken my money.
I know.
it's all about the heart. But I'm
right, because my thing is like, I could have filled a bucket with shit. I paid you for this very specific shit.
I could have gone to a campground and gotten my own ashes. Yeah. But I wanted the ones that you made of the person I liked. I wanted after you destroyed their body completely. I was promised those remains. Yeah, I'm with you. To the point where the only way I know this story is about the mortician is that it was being explained to us at work by another writer who had watched it. And as he's like telling the story, I could see the horror on people's faces, and I was like, "Oh, this is one of those times where I shut the fuck up," because he's telling the story. He's like, he was also harvesting organs, and I was like, "Oh, that's smart."
Yeah.
Like he was like, "How?" And I was like asking questions that I should have been asking, like, but if there's somebody who died, especially if these are old people, what are they doing? Are those good organs? Are those like helpful in any way? And everyone's like looking at me like, why? Why do you want to know?
It's truly, as I'm watching the series and the first episode is just about him giving the wrong ashes to people, I'm really sitting there thinking like, I guess they saved the juicy stuff for episode 2. This is... I mean, apart from all the crying victims, it kind of feels like a victimless crime.
Well, because they found out.
Yeah.
It's like, had they not known that you were getting a bunch of cat ashes, like that, you'd have been fine. You'd have been fine living the rest of your life not knowing that. I'm with you on that, though. I'm not sentimental about the body. As much as I work on my body and like cherish my body. After I'm dead, like, that is not mine, and it does. And if it helps you to have it buried somewhere that you can go visit, then sure, yeah, that's fine. But for the most part, like, what is the best possible solution for that? And my wife and I had to confront that when we were coming up with wills because we have children, and we were like, and they was saying, what do you want to do with your body? And we were like, oh, well, I've heard that just burials are really bad because they pump your body full of chemicals and preservatives, and like the coffin and everything aren't great for the ground. And then they're like, so we're like, cremation. They're like, oh no, cremation is pretty bad for the environment. It's pretty awful. It's pretty bad stuff. And we're like, oh, because of the smoke and then the ashes. Okay, what are our options? Like, how do we get rid of this thing? And they're like, well, there's green burial, and like some places will do a green burial where they just basically put you in what is essentially a cardboard box and put you in the ground, and don't change anything. And we were like, okay, let's just do that. And like, all right, now, do you want to be where? And we were like, oh, fuck. Close to our kids, I guess, so they can go see it.
Right. That's kind of the whole point of the urn thing that I don't want for myself. I understand it in the sense of like, if you want to talk to someone who's gone, and like the urn is your totem for that, in the same way that like you care where your body would be dropped in the ground, so your kids and loved ones could have somewhere to visit to talk to you and feel some kind of connection to you. I guess I just think if I'm dying and Shay wants to talk to me when I'm gone, I feel like there are
You find other
enough
places. Yeah.
places in our shared drama that she can go and find me, talk to me at the beach, talk to me in our backyard, talk to me when you see stars on a clear night. That's where I am, all those places. And it just seems so much cheaper and easier and better for the environment.
Well, also, I feel like cemeteries, I'm going to alienate so many fucking people. Cemeteries, ashes are for really uncreative people. They're for people who need something. They're like, no, it was the body that I talked to, so I have to go back to the body. Like, they can't conceive of something bigger than that. Or like, think of me even as like a time of day. Like, and I'll say, the risk of getting too intimate here, when my dad died, we were there for it. We watched him die, and it was and then I was like, I got to go for a walk afterwards. And when I went out, it was very windy. And from that day forward, the closest I feel to him, or like the strongest I feel a connection to him, is when it's very windy out. It's like it's the wind. And the wind is also really good in a metaphorical way because it is something that you don't see until the only time you register the wind is its impact on objects, the same way as you would with like love, and like you don't actually see love, but you see its effects. And so I was making connections there and like really loving like this idea of the wind, and so I still to this day, like if it's like breezy and I'll be like, oh hey Dad, and I don't think these people are fucking doing that shit. I think that they're like, I gotta go to a grave, or I gotta go to where I put these ashes and go, that's the only place. Otherwise they are gone to me completely. It's like, no, they're not. Stop. They're everywhere. Anyway.
I don't think that's alienating. I think that's beautiful, Soren.
I basically just said that I do reverence better than anybody else. So.
I think so, yeah. And specifically,
that's beautiful
because they lack creativity. I think it's
because they're uncreative.
That's the part that I do think might.
I'm just encouraging them to.
Maybe if you'd read a few more books. Or
use your literary tools whatever ones you still have from school, and really try to use those when you're dealing with the worst days of your life.
There's no wrong way to grieve. There's like interesting ways to do it, and you're choosing not to, and that's you.
I want to say there's no wrong ways to grieve, but it just doesn't feel right in my bones. I think that there are plenty of wrong ways. Yeah. Anyway, I was surprised. He was cremated, and then we had his ashes for a while because my mom had plans to like bring him up this mountain that sits over Carbondale is called Sopris, and like plan was to bring him up Sopris, but she also was like just sort of scattering them other places where they had memories. Like they built the house together, so she was like putting him around the house, and then she had this thing of ashes in the house, and I think occasionally she would talk to it. And when I got home, she was like, do you guys want to scatter some ashes in places that were important to you? We were doing that, and I was like, oh, I'm surprised at how much this means to me.
Oh, yeah?
I'm surprised that this isn't just like I'm looking in this and only seeing what I would pull out of the bottom of a fireplace. Like there was something else to it only because I had imbued it with that. But I was surprised. I was surprised at like the idea of this scattering of ashes, like that felt good and like that I liked it. But so... There's something to be said for the other side, I guess.
That should probably wrap up our episode, right?
Yeah.
I think it was a pretty good one.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody, for listening. This is a quick question with Soren and Daniel. You knew that. As always, our theme song is by Mirex. You can find their music anywhere you stream, or you can get full albums at mirex.bandcamp.com. This podcast is held together at the seams every single day by Gabe Harder, who is our editor, sound engineer, producer, video editor, uploader to social media. Like, he does it all. Does everything. And you can find Daniel or I on Blue Sky. Or if you want to, also there's video of this podcast. If you choose to listen to this in your car, that's your prerogative. All I'm saying is, as you're driving, maybe watch it too. Wouldn't that be fun?
Yeah.
Watch it on YouTube.
No law against it.
And we have Patreon. There are other versions of this podcast you can listen to. A less buttoned up version where Daniel and I are a little more open with positions that could usually get us canceled. When you listen to our Patreon, they're shorter episodes and they're every other week. Thank you for listening. Goodbye.
Bye.
I've got a quick question for you, alright? I wanna hear your thoughts, I wanna know what's on your mind. I've got a quick question for you, alright? The answer's not important, I'm just glad that we could talk tonight. So what's your favorite? How did you get? When will I be remembered? Was it ever? Where did all the right know? Oh, forget it. Soren Bowie, Daniel O'Brien, two best friends and comedy writers. If there's an answer, they're gonna find it. I think you'll have a great time here.